All right, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Wholly Unapologetic. I'm back with my good friend Ayce here today and a very special guest, a repeat guest. We are back with Kristin Warnaca, who, as it turns out, was our most popular episode of last season. So I know it's going to be juicy today as well. But these two have a lot to talk about, so I'm going to pass it right over to Ayce and just enjoy their conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Marcus, for the intro. So, Kristen and I, and actually Marcus, all have a very interesting past. Marcus was a PK kid. I was a 20-year professional theologian. Kristen came out of a cult. And so we have a lot in common. And I think today's conversation is going to be really juicy because we're just kind of talking about our lives and how we deconstructed our faith and our religion. We walked away from the only thing we really knew in our lives. And we restarted, and we're actually all flourishing right now, which is super exciting. And so, Kristen, would you be willing just to give us a brief intro about like your past and just kind of give our listeners an opportunity to catch up with who you are?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, both of you, for having me back. It's such a delight to get to connect and share with people who understand how this journey has been, how long the walkout has been, and what a triumph it is to be so joyful and flourishing. So, if people want the big full story, they can go back and listen to season 1 of Wholly Unapologetic. The talk we had together was called Cult to Kink. My story of leaving the 2x2 religion. But a very brief recap in a little nutshell here is I call it raised in captivity. That's kind of a nod to the book of Exodus in the Bible. But I was raised in a very secret, underground, invisible cult that is worldwide. It's called the 2x2s, 2x2. And there's an ongoing worldwide FBI investigation into a lot of corruption and abuse within this very secret organization. And I'm a witness and a survivor. And I left the 2x2 organization in 2008 when my youngest child was 2 weeks old and have never been back. But I took a 16-year, very slow journey out. I went into evangelical Christianity, hardcore, and then I went into charismatic Christianity, and now I find myself in this really beautiful space of having deconstructed from organized religion and having reconstructed a new life on the other side. So there you go. There's a little bit.
I love it. Yeah, thank you for the recap. Definitely appreciate it. So the listeners kind of have an understanding of where we're coming from. All three of us are actually writers. And so what I'm so excited about is Kristen and I have a book coming out called Embracing Your Eros. It's a multi-author book. And in that book, I share my journey from missionary to missionary and beyond in the bedroom. It's a bit steamy. I talk about an opportunity that I had with a practitioner and how she asked me, "Did you just orgasm in a session?" And I was like, yes, I did. And that's how I open up my book. It's very hot, very juicy. Kristen, can you give us a little bit of like a teaser for your chapter in the book?
Oh, yes. So my chapter is also called Cult to Kink because that's what I want people to understand is that healing can be possible through pleasure and through permission. So that's really the gist of my story in Embracing Your Eros is how I came from this place of absolute rigid control, discipline, and a sense of never belonging to myself. Always and completely existing to obey, to be pure, to be quiet, and to be afraid. Not just afraid of other people, but afraid of myself. Like I was actually, I'm just going to go there. I was taught at a very young age, like, don't sit on people's laps because if you wiggle, they might get turned on, as if it would be my fault as a child, right? Like I was taught that I was dangerous, that my body was a temptation, even as a toddler. And so my story in the book is really about coming back to this erotic innocence of like, this is good, this is pure, this is something healthy. and beautiful. And how I literally wrote myself a permission slip and signed it myself and said, permission to belong to yourself, permission to explore, permission granted for life. And how giving myself that permission without needing God, a man, my parents, church leaders, elders, anyone like that to say, oh yeah, sure, we'll sign off on this. Like when I was trying to get divorced, one of the many times, the church leadership in the evangelical church I was going to was like, well, we'll have a meeting of the elders and we'll ask for witnesses. And this whole Acts 29 church that was like, maybe you have biblical grounds, maybe you don't. And realizing I don't need anyone's permission. I know what's true when no one else is looking. So it's really a story about sovereignty. And writing it was so big. If people have never written their stories, even if they don't publish them, to be able to put words on paper is a really profound and meaningful step. I'm excited for people to read all of the stories in the book. It's a really diverse, incredible crew of people. I think the book's going to serve a lot of humans in this world.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of representation in the book. And what I love is your callback to like the permission slip piece. I remember as a like 5th grade signing a purity pledge where I was going to remain pure in my life. And it's reclaiming our authority, our agency, our sovereignty in our life. So I love that. Marcus, I know you have a little bit of a connection to this. Is there anything you want to bring into the conversation here?
Oh gosh, I don't even know where I would jump in. It's just all so familiar, and I was kind of joking with Ace before this, and I've talked to guests too of just like I feel like we need this kind of one way that we just always ask, like, all right, so let's just get right into the deconstruction here because we all have all these shared experiences, and also just with the unique position of Ace and I as trans men, like we did grow up with the purity culture and what it was like to be raised female in this system, and it's so damaging, and so part of me kind of thought it was funny when you talked about the evangelical side of things because I read a book about this big about the damage of being raised evangelical and purity culture and pure. It's a really good one. But then I think that's interesting that you go from one thing that you think you're escaping to then something that can, of course, be still very restrictive for many people, and then eventually working your way out. So that's very powerful. Just an interesting progression there. But yeah, I've just been working so hard to kind of, and so it's interesting. I almost wanted to wear the same shirt from our last episode and kind of mark like how different do I look? How different does it feel? I hope I'm growing. I hope I'm not just like, I think this has been so amazing to talk about all these things and realize we have these shared experiences, but I hope I am still healing and growing and developing beyond it, versus it still having that much power. Because I think before we ever started, and a big part of me reaching out to Ace was like, I know I can point at shame. I know that's the villain here, but I don't know how to feel like I am not just drowning in it. And I always say how intersectional it is, being raised female, being raised in a patriarchal society outside of just, the weird purity culture around it. And of course, church, and then, sexuality shame and gender identity shame and all those things. It's a lot to unpack. And there's so many things that can kind of keep us tethered to where we've always been instead of where we want to go. So yeah, hopefully this podcast helps other people too, even if it's just that first step of like, wait a second, this is something I didn't even know to look at maybe. Because for all of us, everything that we used to be in was the normal. And it was, I think that's something I've realized kind of time and again is like, that was my rubric for life. That was how I felt like if it was a good day or a bad day. And so it's like, when I see people proselytizing or anything like that, I'm like, oh, for them, this is like, or I saw someone like stick some Jesus love you sign like way up on like a telephone pole. And I was like, man, they probably felt so good about themselves after that difficult thing, because that's what we're raised with, is this is going to be hard. I actually read something really interesting the other day, which was like, when you have to go out as a young Christian and try to preach, and you're automatically treated understandably with a little bit of, at the very best, discomfort, let alone full out rejection, that then reassures you that your in-group is the Christian group that sent you out in the first place. So it's basically making you a hostile thing to the rest of the world so that they seem like the other, and then you can come back to your in-group and be like, oh, that was crazy. They don't want to hear about Jesus. And it's like, well, maybe they do, and maybe it's just really creepy when you walk up to someone on the side of the street and try to, however many different ways we may have all been forced to do that, depending on your denomination. But I thought that was really interesting, whereas like that in-group out-group thing is, we see it politically of course too, but but religiously to keep you into that your little bubble and not let you have access to the outside world there. So it's a very beautiful thing then to be in this position where we're getting to interview all these amazing people and be introduced to all these different perspectives and just be ready to learn and grow versus like, no, I already have all the answers. I've got a book. It might not be the same as your book, but it's definitely the one that has all the right answers. And then just to be, like just someone that always wants to learn is so even that, there we go. I'm in a better place because I'm excited to learn and grow and learn from all of our amazing guests, versus what we're kind of raised with too in the church of like, we have all the answers. And if I don't, then the parent does. And if the parent doesn't, then an older man does. And some other, like there's such a power and gender hierarchy that again we can all relate to. So there's so much so much that I can relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great segue into my next question for you, Kristin. It's what's alive for you right now in this moment? Like, what are you learning? What are you working through? What is something that you're growing in as an individual and as a coach?
Mm. Ooh, well, what's alive for me right now is the book that's coming out this spring. Feeling so excited about collaborating with you and the other authors to bring this message that Eros is always around us all the time. And we can't actually lose it. We just need to reconnect to it. It's an innate part of us. So that's super alive for me. Right now, I think the things I'm most conscious of are really the two pillars that are constants in my life right now. So one is religious purity culture survivorship. And I work with a lot of people who come from past religion. So like, in a way, I feel like I hesitate to use this word, but I'm just going to use it in this context kind of flippantly, is like my calling, right? To help people unlearn that shame through witnessing, through deep understanding and empathy, and then through being the permission slip that returns them to their own sovereignty. So that's a big part of my work. On that note, I wanted to just drop this in because, Marcus, you mentioned the sticker, and that sticker way up there on a telephone pole. One of the best descriptions I have for religious trauma hangover syndrome, let's call it, is a story a friend of mine told me. She said she was driving behind an older vehicle, and there was a place on the bumper where there used to be a Jesus fish sticker, right? And the sticker had been peeled off, but there was still all this tacky, sticky stuff that, like, you could see it in the right light. You could see the imprint it had left. And every single one of us, and probably a lot of the people that listen to this podcast, are in that same boat. They may have de-identified with a portion of or all of their original programming, and yet still feel that on them. And what I want to do is just help get all of that off, so they are back to their original design. So that's very alive and something I do all the time. I'll pause for that, and then we'll talk about the next thing, because I see you.
Oh
You.
gosh, I love that so much. I love that so much for two reasons. One, because a lot of my like trauma and especially from childhood and sexual assault and things like that is this idea of uncleanness. Like I struggle with, even to this day, a lot of kind of germophobic tendencies for that reason. So cleaning off something sticky, speaking my language. But also what it really made me think of is that the irony is that is a common metaphor for purity culture. Is like, you're going to be like a piece of tape, stick it off of this arm and stick it on someone else's arm, see how it's used up and gross. That's what being a woman is. If you've had sex with more than one person, it's heinous. So the running joke being like, what object are women being compared to today? But yeah, so that idea of like pulling off is their own metaphor for something that's just useless.
And used bubble gum and
dude gum
pieces. I did all those exercises too as a young
so awful. And usually at an age where you don't even really know what sex is yet. And I think a lot of young, like, I just remember when we first learned about it, like, I don't know, 5th grade, we're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I thought I wanted to be a mom, but that sounds not fun. just funny in its own way. But but I love that visual of just like peeling it off the back, but there's still a lot of work to do, and the outline of it it's just a perfect metaphor.
Because learning how to be naked with a partner without shame, right? How to undress in the same room as someone else, modesty, feeling not guilty after having an orgasm. Like, these are things that follow people for decades.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing that's just always alive and awake and vibrant in my life, because I love helping people feel fully, completely, truly free. The other thing that's super exciting, is it all right if we talk about our upcoming thing that we're
Please
doing?
do.
Okay.
I'm
Absolutely.
so
So
excited.
Ayce and I are collaborating on a super delightful 7-week program that starts this spring. It's called House of the Lord, and it's a refuge and a safe place for people who are like us, holy freaks. It's actually a very, very open, welcoming space for anyone who's in this questioning, in this healing from organized religion. It doesn't actually mean they have to have fully left. And in fact, I don't think people have to fully leave. There are places that they can find that are way more open and loving, but a place about self-trust, returning to what we were told, don't you know that your body's the temple of the Lord? We're using that house of the Lord in kind of a playful, tongue-in-cheek way to say, yes, we are. The divine lives within us. This is sovereign, holy territory, and to reclaim that. So I'm really excited to be able to bring our shared stories and our very different perspectives and different paths that we took. Like, mine took almost 20 years. Ayce, I think you did yours in 4, right? Like,
Yeah.
you were just like,
Yeah.
boom. And
Let's go. I'm ready.
Yeah, I took the slow path. You took the quick one. And there isn't one way. Like, hallelujah. There is no one way for anyone. But because the abuse, the programming, the conditioning, and the terror took place in sanctioned community, I believe, and we believe, I think it's safe for me to speak for you on this, that healing
Absolutely.
happens in community too. Healing happens, and we all become more whole and more safe together. And while someone in the room may not feel free to share something, they can be like, yes, that, exactly what you just said. And they'll hear their own experience mirrored back to them. And so we're very excited about having a 7-week safe space for people to be able to ask the questions, to share their own stories, and to heal together. And to
Yeah.
get to heal through pleasure. It gets to be fun and exciting and juicy.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so excited about this because it gives people an opportunity to critically think about their worldview and how they were brought up, what kind of patterning has been, instilled in their lifestyle, and an opportunity just to be like, that's not right for me. And can I explore what might be right for me? Can I have permission to talk about this, to talk about those inner longings that I've never shared with anybody else before? That I feel like shameful about, that I don't really want them to exist within me, but they do. And like, there's this tension. The other thing that I'm so excited about this experience is that it's actually, we're tagging on an event that's called Saint and Sinners. And so people get an in-person opportunity to witness and engage in what does it look like to play with the polarity of like our ex-religious piece of us, or the saints and sinners piece of it, and finding the divinity within ourselves. It's a kink event, and so there's going to be a whole lot of juiciness happening, but obviously it's consensual, and so people have an opportunity to dive into experiences where they might get flogged or spanked, maybe by Kristin, maybe.
What I love about the Carnival Dungeon event is that it's very, very carefully curated. And so people actually apply to attend. They have to fill out an application even to purchase a ticket. It's a completely sober event. And there's, in addition to all of the preparation, over an hour of, I think it's actually more like 2.5 hours of full consent conversation, meeting people in the space, and being able to observe and to be able to participate in small little experiences with certified, experienced, safe facilitators. So if someone's curious about kink, and they're like, maybe I am, maybe I'm not, I don't know. Certainly going to a professional space like this is so much safer than saying, I'm going to try to find a play partner on FetLife, or, hope I can meet someone on a dating app and maybe they can introduce me because they say they're a dom or whatever. It's a really exquisite space where consent is paramount and vetting is really, really well done. And so they can participate at whatever level they want, but it's an opportunity for an embodied experience, including like a whole section on negotiation, boundaries, and consent. So it's primo in terms of being able to say, this is a safe space, a safe place to learn, explore, observe, watch, and actually experience.
Absolutely. Marcus, do you have any questions about any of the things that we've shared so far?
Well, I did just want to give you a chance, Ace, too, because you had a big event this year, your Kinkbound event. Did you want to give it a
Yeah.
chance real quick to share that with our audience? Because I'm just so proud of you pulling all of that together. That's so exciting.
Yeah, so a huge part of my journey when I started this journey was experiential events. I would go somewhere, experience something, and I'd be nervous as fuck. Like, I would be like, how did I get here? Why am I here? What am I doing? Do I belong here? Like, all the questions. And then I dropped myself into an experience that was actually transformational. And like, it took my life into a whole new direction. It was like, oh, so this is what life could be. This is the full human experience of life that I've been missing out on for years. And so after I had some of these experiences, I decided in my own business, I was going to actually offer these experiences to other people who might not have had the opportunity to see them before, but they get an opportunity to drop in with professionals who are trained, they're trauma skilled, they have the ability to hold the space when things go wrong and like emotions are coming up, which that's not even going wrong. That's just part of life, right? But they can hold the space when there's absolute terror in your body, and they know how to be with you in that moment and meet you in that space. And so last year, I did an event called Kinkbound. It was an opportunity for people to meet with a professional dom, to see a scene, to experience fire play, knife play, flogging, spanking, a ton of really great opportunities in the kink world. And also to be in community with people and say like, oh yeah, this is a desire I have. Do you have this desire? We actually had a play party. And it was one of the most fun play parties I've ever been to because it was so organic. People had the opportunity to participate when they wanted to and kind of draw back and just watch and be a voyeur if they wanted to. There was no judgment. There was no shame. It was you play as you want to play. And like, I'm getting like shivers right now because it was so like just juicy. And what people said after the event was like, I did not expect to enjoy that as much as I did. I did not expect that to change the trajectory of how I'm going to play with other people, how I'm going to meet other people in this space, how I'm going to curate these experiences for others and be in my body, experience this much pleasure. And so this coming year, I'm going to do a whole bunch of events. One of them is Kinkbound Pro, which is just for professionals. So Kristin's actually going to come and be on team with us. And we're going to drop in again with Orpheus, and we're going to actually train professionals in how to hold space and to be with their clients in a way that's just creating a safer, braver space to really drop into our bodies and into our nervous system and have these types of transformational events that honestly, they transform our lives, and we will not be the same when we leave that space.
So what are you most excited for, Kristin?
Oh, it's going to be so juicy. Well, Ayce has put together a rock star team. So Orpheus Black coming out from California and Kavi Everhart, who also lives in Colorado, a bondage instructor, erotic blueprints lead trainer, just an incredible team. I'm really excited because we're gathering professionals from across so many different worlds and creating this joint community space. It's not just one certification or one particular group of coaches or professionals, but bringing in this shared body of knowledge and wisdom is super juicy to me. I have a really random thought that as you were talking about some of those experiences that are on offer, may I just offer a totally out of the box thing we've never talked about before? Okay. So if I know that Ayce knows this about me, I am a massive heavy metal fan, right? Okay. So I don't look like it. I look like a pretty vanilla chick, right? Like I look like I probably listen to like pop music or the spiritual stuff. I totally listen to the spiritual stuff. I love sound baths, all the things. However, like the place I feel most at home is in a doom or death metal show. I've attended let's see, I think 13, I've heard 13 bands this month. Like it's a thing. We did a 3-day event in Boulder recently. And on the outside, heavy metal looks freaking scary. Okay, everybody's wearing black. They've got these battle jackets with these ripped up patches with these terribly terrifying names like Cannibal Corpse and Cattle Decapitation. And they're pretty intense. Well, I was at Cattle Decapitation last night, and guess what? They sing about veganism. They sing about saving the planet. The band Castrator, an all-female heavy metal band, actually sings against violence against women, against rape and misogyny. Okay? What it looks like on the outside and what it actually is on the inside is completely upside down, backwards, and inside out. I feel more safe there in that community of people than anywhere else. You see these kids in a mosh pit going around. They're not hurting each other. They're bouncing. They're getting somatic grounding and a sense of community. And those on the outside, the elders, are just like keeping them contained, keeping them safe. It's a place to express. It's cathartic. It's safe. It's a place to safely explore the shadows and to have emotional releases. And I find so much synergy and connection between that and the kink world. The kink world looks terrifying. It sounds, to some people who don't really know what they're looking at, maybe who've only seen the terrible 50 Shades of Grey, absolutely not consensual, healthy kink. It's absolute abuse. But it looks scary on the outside. It looks dark. Red dungeons, whips, chains, oh my. And inside out, upside down, and backwards, it's the safest, most honoring, consensual space that exists. All about dignity, trust, self-expression, welcome. And so I just wanted to mention that, like, people think the church camp, schools are safe. It's where a lot of the predators are. It's where the secrets are kept. And in these other worlds that look like the underworld, it's actually completely opposite. It's where the safety and respect and honor is. It's where consent thrives. And so I just want to call that out as something, if you think it's really terrifying, it might be worth a deeper look. Like one of my girlfriends was like, I know you like being tied up, but I don't really understand it. It's just so scary. And I'm like, do you understand that compression is like a thunder blanket for a dog with anxiety? It's so calming to my nervous system. I melt because there's containment there. It looks different than it feels. And so I just thought that was a note I wanted to share. I could write a whole essay on it, on the life-saving health of heavy metal and kink. But if you're terrified, look deeper.
So good. Yeah, so good. I would love to bring up a point that I learned as I came out of the Christian faith and I started exploring things. I was always taught to fear people who were in this world. Like sex workers were dirty, bad, sinful, broken, gross, whatever. The moment that I started interacting with people in this field, my mind was like blown at how genuine and caring and empathetic. Like I had never been heard or seen by someone like I had been seen by a sex worker, if I'm most honest. They saw me as a human being and had genuine care for me. And they understood consent and boundaries, and I wasn't getting overridden. I had voice, I had choice, I had the ability to take up space. Never before could I experience that in the Christian world. I've never felt more loved or cared for by the people in this community.
So beautiful.
I love that you brought that up too, because I feel like I'm trying to form the question, which is, how do we stay accessible to those people that aren't free yet, shall we say? I mean, I still feel very new to kink, but I am also so comfortable talking about it now and hearing about it. And like this conversation isn't shocking to me at all. And yet I just think about, if we have the most Christian person ever listening to this, how do we stay in a different way sticky to them so they want to ask more questions? Because we've experienced so much healing in our journey, but it's because we had safe places to step at each point. And so I just hope that this because we've been able to pull in so many amazing experts to the podcast, I hope that we're still able to stay really accessible to someone that's diving in and maybe didn't know that this was how this conversation was going to go, whatever it might be. So what are your thoughts on that for you two? How, because I know you both coach, so you both coach people that are probably just starting out their journeys. What helps you help those that are just starting out, even if it's very far from where you are in your journey?
Yeah. Ayce, you want to go first?
I will. Yeah. So the thing that I found most helpful in this is titration. I think a lot of times we want to drop into it and experience it all, and we're like, oh yeah, balls to the walls, let's do this. Like that could be one of the most dangerous and damaging things you could possibly do. Like you might have a fantasy, you might think that you want to do it, but like let's feel into our bodies and see like if this is something we actually genuinely want to happen in real time. Sometimes fantasies are better just as fantasies. And so my encouragement to people who are interested in kink is to go really slow. Go only as fast as the slowest part of you wants to go. And so that means maybe you go out and you go, on a date with someone that's not your partner, or you do something that's a little bit kinky, a little bit taboo. You do it once, you do something small, and then you step back. So you experience it and then you embody it and you feel it in your body. How did that land? Did that feel good to me? Is there any like disalignment, incongruence in this? And like actually being true with what's arising. Sometimes in those experiences, you're like, fuck yes, I'm a full body. That was amazing. I want more. Sometimes you're like, oh, that didn't land well. Maybe I need to take some time, some space to rest, to heal, to critical think, to think about what I might want because that wasn't right for me, but this could be right for me if I made like a little bit of a shift here. So it's really getting curious with the sensations that are going on in your body and being attuned to those. And like these sometimes could be like minuscule, subtle cues that our bodies are giving us that that's not right for us, and really tuning into that and listening to our bodies. Because in all honesty, our mind is lying to us all the time. It's telling us things that are not true, but our body can't lie. So if we can actually get into our body, acknowledge the sensations and be with what is, that's how we kind of know if we're stretching too far or we need to slow down or we need to take a pause, or if we're a full fuck yes, let's go. I'm on this train, let's run.
And I think Ayce and I we hold different kind of spaces in our coaching. Like we share our erotic blueprint coach certification, but Ayce is a very hands-on practitioner, somatic sexologist and a bondage practitioner. And in the state of Colorado has the legal right to touch people. So Ayce's work is much more hands-on and experiential than mine, right? I live in Oregon where I could get in really big trouble for for that, and have actually never touched a client in any sort of erotic way. So my practice is really different. And so I think that's also important to note. A big part of my current clientele, and for the last 5 years, has been people who are still very much in and a part of organized religion. So I coach some of the world's top, like they actually describe themselves as the top 3% of the most Orthodox Jewish rabbis and rebbitzins in the world. I have currently in my roster of clients some modern Orthodox Jews and 2 Christian pastors who serve on staff in worldwide missionary organizations. And I coach them just like every human that comes into my practice. I know Ayce does this too, according to their value system, their moral code, and their ethics. What I do in my private life, what I have walked through in my own faith deconstruction, reconstruction journey has nothing to do with them. I'm here to be a safe space. So my really Orthodox clients, they don't even hold hands in public or kiss in their own home in front of their children. But they are doing 800 level role play kink in their bedroom. But they stay within their container. They've still never seen the male partner has never seen his wife's vulva. They do not allow that within that particular practice of Judaism. But they will, like, she has a little pillow cushion that she'll kneel on in front of his desk, and she'll bring her little collar, and they will do really fun, like, house cleaning, dom sub stuff that's like super freaking hot and so fun for them. So there's ways to make this work in a totally monogamous relationship that includes going to temple, that includes raising your children within a faith walk. There's nothing that says that power dynamics and pleasure cannot exist in a consensual way within a relationship. And so it's really like whatever that person needs and wants. And I always recommend, I know Ayce does too, like the titration. We actually do less rather than more. It's like, let's expand the comfort zone without blowing past any safety lines. It's better to move slowly than to go too fast and cause some kind of internal breach of value of a held ethic. But I also will challenge certain beliefs, and I'll be like, so tell me where that comes from. Where does this belief come from? Where did you learn it? Who taught you? And now let's go use your book, whatever book they happen to use. Does it actually say that? And in context, is that true? Right? Like, actually, we could very, very easily show from a scientific perspective, our body was designed for pleasure. Nerve endings everywhere, right? We've got taste buds that are made to taste all these different things. Our skin is made to taste all these things. Parts of our body were made specifically for this, for pleasure. So I try to take this middle ground. The middle ground is not being overcome with shame, going into shutdown and freeze and denying our humanity, our desire, our pleasure. So we don't go into like, this is all bad. We also don't go into full-blown like feeding frenzy of, like the kink frenzy that can happen when somebody's newly awakened. We are like, we don't have to be overcome by our desire either. There's a middle path of wisdom. And so having someone to guide that and help support that in a healthy way is what I try to do.
Yeah, I love that, because we're talking about what's right for the person, right? What's right for you in your religion, what's right for you in your cultural context. One of the best things for me was saying, fuck religion, and giving myself that space to be like, all right, can I try this on and find out if it's right for me? And then also to find people around me that weren't judging me for my lifestyle choices, and that actually were really supportive. And I would say, hey, I'm going to go do this with someone. And I tell them what I was going to do. And they'd be like, fuck yes, go get it. And it's like, it feels so good to not be told, no, you can't have this. No, you can't do this. If it feels right in your body and it's right for the other people that you're interacting with, go for it. Try it. See how it feels. Mm-hmm. And you can always pull back and be like, I don't want to do that again. That's not an experience I want. Or you can go further.
Yeah. I think it's really important to say we have no agenda. I'm not trying to talk anyone out of faith or religion or their values or their morals. I only work with the people who come to me. Right? And usually they have to chase me and beg. I have a waiting list till March, right? Like, my practice is full. I'm grateful for that, but it's like, I'm not out. I have no goal. There's nothing I'm trying to achieve or prove. What I'm trying to do is help people connect to themselves. So I'm not even trying to say, break up with religion, break up with God, any of those things. It's really like breaking up with the fear that we were given that was called God. Breaking up with the conditioning that says we were born in sin, broken, and instead saying, okay, what else does it say? How about you were made perfect in the Creator's image? What about that? Right? So like, I try to bring this balance, and like, I still hold some parts of faith and a connection to God and to Christ consciousness very dear to me, while standing strongly and staunchly against abuse from religious indoctrination and the systemic oppression of humans. It does not mean I do not have faith, because I do. Deep, deep faith. But I have faith not in man, and not in leadership, and not in hierarchy, but instead with the Spirit of God lives inside me, I can trust that. And that is what I am answerable to. And then I married a pagan Buddhist metalhead who, has no background in religion. Is like, what is Passover? I don't really know what this is. He has no context. But when I anoint him with oil before he goes to a fire and pray for him, he sees white light. And yes, I can also listen to worship music while getting ready for a dungeon at a kink event on a Good Friday. Like, you can have it all. You don't have to pick just one thing. The binary is completely fucking made up, people. You can have it all.
Love it.
Welcome to my TED Talk. What would you add to that, Marcus? Hearing all of that.
Gosh, I mean, I think I just feel a bit of a sympathy for those that have been so severed from their bodily experience, and it's just something I can very much relate to. And so the idea of even like, oh, see what feels good, I'm like, you're still, to me, that sounds like level 10. Like, I feel like there's so many levels before where, because again, talk about my body doesn't belong to me. Like, so relatable. And so it's something I've been working on is just sitting still long enough to even listen to my body is something that gives me a lot of anxiety, and a lot of anxiety based on like the environment I grew up in and things like that, where like chaos was the norm. It's like silence can kind of be terrifying, or it makes me feel like I'm in trouble. And so like even just kind of slowing down enough to be like, how do I feel, versus just kind of rushing to a pleasure point as a distraction, is something I'm personally working on. So I think it's amazing, but it makes me want to learn more and get angrier about the way that the powers that be try to sever us from our own holy, personal, embodied experience.
Yeah. So for people who are listening and do feel that same challenge, I just invite everyone to take a breath. Just to say that your body is yours, belongs to you. And pleasure is neutral, actually. It's just sensation. It's like pain or hunger, being cold. It's something that an alive being experiences. My cat likes to be petted in one direction and doesn't like to be petted in two, right? Is it sin that it wants to be petted? No. For mammals. So sometimes I think there's almost like, I actually have a permission for pleasure little mini meditation that I gift clients before they see me. And one of the people who came to see me was like, I'm like, permission for pleasure is terrifying. Like, even to just take a nap or to allow myself a little pleasure break, to slow down and eat my food consciously. Like, this is really freaking big stuff. So thank you, Marcus, for saying like that feels like a level 10. Relatable. It's important. Ayce and I have worked our asses off and spent a freak ton of money so to go to school to learn this, and that's accelerated our path, right? But just letting people know it doesn't have to be fast. You get to go slow. And sometimes it's literally as simple as, what do I want to eat today? I'm going to get that. Whoa. And also I'll say, I see a lot of this happen in midlife. Most people can avoid it for a really long time. That was the second piece I was going for what was awake and alive. I finally brought us back full circle, which is like perimenopause. I'm 47. I'm in this midlife initiation where the old way of doing things doesn't work the same way. And so for a lot of people, they're often in their 40s before they really say, okay, I am tired of this thing haunting me. I am ready to get free. It may have been decades down the road. I have someone who's in her late 70s who is starting the work. Okay, so it's never too late. All we need to do is say, I no longer am going to allow something from my past to continue to steal my present and my future. That's it. Like, how many years do you want to give it? You can end it now by making that choice. But perimenopause is definitely kicking my tail. It's this whole thing. So that's the other thing I'm working on, is like hormone balancing, resting, better boundaries. Like those are things I'm really, really actively practicing for myself, and realizing that midlife Eros is a whole new thing. So I'm evolving and changing continually. So I've got some programs for women coming up for that, and femme identifying folks. And it's really, really cool to be able to say, we're also not static. Even if you took your erotic blueprint quiz 2 years ago, you're probably going to be different now. Who you are now, the sexual stage and state you're in, who you are as an erotic being is constantly evolving and changing and growing. And so that continually lights me up.
I love that you brought that up. And it's just so important too, because women are so raised to just take care of everyone else first. And there is this kind of moment where you have to stop and kind of listen to your body because it's going through all of these different experiences. And also too, it's a key point in life where a lot of people have kept so busy, especially if there's moms with the empty nest, whatever it is, there is this kind of second phase too. So to have the courage to kind of sit with the discomfort of change and face things and be like, what do I actually want to keep? And I think that's something that a lot of people are even just facing in general in life right now. Like, what if the old world is dying? What's going to keep going? What do we want to, how do we want to, my coach always talks about like watering a garden. What do we want to continue to water? What do we want to throw out? So I love that you brought that up. It's just so important. So to kind of encourage anyone listening to not be afraid of, maybe turning on the light in a closet or kind of doing some exploration. You can never know too much about yourself, and you can always be changing too. So I think that's where I want to start, like even just asking guests, I was like, who are you? Like, because it's going to be a different answer, even from the last time maybe we had you on the podcast, whatever it might be. We're people that are growing and changing. And I think we get more and more used to it and used to what is otherwise can seem like a really scary thing for other people that are like, I know exactly who I am, who I'm told to be. It fits within all of these parameters, who I'm working on being. So sometimes that all gets shaken up for the right reasons.
I like to be the hermit crab, which is constantly outgrowing my shell.
Mm-hmm.
Taking myself with me wherever I go, but constantly growing out of my old shells.
Love it.
Yeah. Ayce, what do you want us to take away from today in terms of what we've talked about, and especially the events coming up?
Yeah, I think just through this whole conversation, it's the reminder of living your life in pleasure. Mm-hmm. There's so much pain out there. There's so much angst. There's so much anxiety. We're seeing it in the world today, just with all the that's going on. Mm-hmm. And we have voice and choice. And like, yes, it's important to dive into those moments that don't feel good, where there's pain. Like, yeah, let's be with that. And also, we can choose to live in pleasure. We can choose to evolve. We can choose to change. We can choose to pull ourselves out of the context we're in today and put ourselves in a new space. Like, that's a huge piece of my journey, is like, I thought I had to do X, Y, Z. I thought I had to be a Christian. I thought I had to stay in Michigan. I thought I had to take care of other people. And yet I had choice. And there was no right choice. There was no wrong choice. It was what felt right for me in this moment, and how do I want to move forward? And so, Kristin, I love that you came onto the show today just to share a little bit about your journey and how you've dove into pleasure and how it totally just transformed your life. Just that one hair pull, right? If we can just allow ourselves, submit ourselves to the journey of life and the full expression, we don't know what's out there for us. But that's part of the human journey, right? Figuring it out as we go.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, Kristin and
Such
Ayce.
a delight.
I will link everything down below. Send me any links for making sure our audience can connect with you both. Although, as we know, quite the wait list. But still, there's a lot that people can do to connect with you as well.
House of the Lord is ready. So is Kinkbound Pro. And Ayce and I are quite a team. So if people can find us there, and it's really gonna be juicy. So thank you, both of you, for having me on again. It's a delight to be back, and can hardly wait to see you.
So happy to have you. Thank you so much. We will connect with everyone on the next episode of Wholly Unapologetic.